Meeting to order. Joanne, would you read the roll, please?
Mayor Jackson,
Here.
Mr. Bowman,
Here.
Mr. Miller is absent. Ms. Cordova? Here. Mr. Lopez,
Here.
Mr. Lucero,
Here.
Ms. Parker?
Here.
Mr. Robinson hasn't arrived, and Mr. Heflin.
Here.
Thank you. We have quorum.
We have a quorum. Before we get started on the agenda, we need to move, I was informed that we need to move item E, which is a memorandum of understanding regarding the Portales School District Recreation Program. We want to move it to item H. Is that right? Hello?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
To item H.
Yeah, to item
After
I.
item H.
It'll be item I, behind item H
Yes.
on the agenda. And each item below will change
Okay.
to
Move it to item
J, K, L, and M.
H. No, H.
Make sense?
Yes.
I need action to change that agenda. Hi, Oscar. Motion by Mr. Bowen,
Second.
second by Ms. Cordova. All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
I'll abstain.
All righty, so now we're carrying on. Thanks, Oscar. Good to see you, bud. All right, first off is, I just want to say, I'm glad to be back. I missed all y'all smiling faces. We're gonna get there health wise, so I'm on the road to recovery and I appreciate all the prayers and the thoughts and the food and everybody reaching out to me. So thank you very much for all that. Veronica's gonna lead us in the invocation and then I'll lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Veronica?
Please bow your head. Heavenly Father, thank you for the blessings that you give to our residents and to our whole community. We appreciate all the blessings that you bestow upon us. We want to pray for rain. We want to pray for our citizens and for our staff. And we just want to pray that all of your blessings are always given to us. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Mexico, the state is symbol of perfect friendships among united cultures.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, scheduled business. Minutes of the previous meetings, we had one that was held on, there was a joint council commission meeting that was held July 11th, 2022. Minutes are in your packet. We've had a chance to look those over. I would entertain action on those minutes, please.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Mr. Lucero, a second by Mr. Lopez. All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Regular meeting that was held July 26th, 2022. Those minutes are also in your packet. Without any changes or anything, I would entertain action on those minutes, please.
So moved. Second.
Motion to approve by Mr. Robinson, a second by Mr. Lopez. All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
I'll abstain.
Jim abstain.
Abstain. Yes.
Item B is a resolution 22-23-06, resolution accepting the Eastern New Mexico Regional Behavioral Health Facility feasibility study.
Good
Sarah?
evening, Mayor. Nice to see you here, council. This was presented to you, to everybody in the community in June. The study has been completed and they did conclude that there is a need for a mental health facility in this region, and we're looking at trying to get it put in Clovis. And this is a joint effort between all the entities involved is to pass this resolution, just declaring that we do need the facility.
I know some of us were able to make that meeting in June and some of us were not. But it's been an ongoing study for a little over a year, wasn't it? That they
It's
were,
probably more like 2 years because it was started well before I became city manager.
do we have any questions on that? Okay. Do we want to take action on resolution 22-23-06?
Move for approval?
Second.
Motion approved by Ms. Parker, a second by Mr. Bowen. Joanne, would you read the roll?
Yes, sir. Mr. Bowen,
Yes.
Ms. Cordova?
Yes.
Mr. Lopez,
Yes.
Mr. Lucero,
Yes.
Ms. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
and Mr. Heffernan.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, we've got this resolution here that needs to be signed, the one we just approved, so I'm gonna pass it around. Okay. Sir. Chad, send it that way in the back. Sure. All right. Okay, item C is resolution 22-23-07, a resolution adopting increases in the water, sewer, and garbage rates. When's the last time we had a water or sewer increase, John?
It was right before I got here. I believe it was the last time we actually had an increase in the base rate was in 2010. The last time we had an increase in the water rates was 2016.
Okay.
We haven't had an increase in the garbage rates since 2010.
Floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. We took this to the finance committee and for their recommendation to the council, which they recommended approval of it. I did want to make one note. If you look on the first page, and I hope you appreciate the rather large pages that we gave you, makes it a little easier to see. If you look under the industrial rates for the water co-op and the industry, if you're looking year one, it shows 200%. It's actually not. It's supposed to be 300% increase in those rates, and I'm not exactly sure why my formula didn't come across. But what this is a increase in the base rate with an increase in the per unit consumption rate as well. When we took it to the finance committee the first time, the recommendation that I got from the committee and Sarah was that we needed to break the base rate increase up over the course of 5 years, which we did, and it has been a substantial amount of time since we've had increases. That is just the cost to have the service. That gets you your first 2,000 gallons. So with what we have there in year one, it'll be a 30% increase, 30%, 30%, 30% as we move forward. And then if you look below that is where we start the conservation effort through our rate structure. So with the next 8,000 gallons, it's currently is $2.27. What we're proposing moving forward is that it would be 7%, not just a fixed amount. Then as you move up, it'll be 11 to 30,000, 365. When you hit 31,000 to 100,000, it's $4.58 a thousand. If you go over 100,000, it's $6.68 a thousand. Now that's when you calculate the bill, it's a little complicated, but what we're trying to get is some help with conservation. And then when you look in year 5, the larger water users are paying a substantially larger portion of the maintenance of the system. We propose this all the way across inside the city limits is a 30% increase. If you're outside, it's a 40%. We didn't exactly stay with the 1.5 times on that increase. And then the same way, public education, we left them at 30% of the schools. Then the commercial inside and outside, when you look at those, we went ahead and started with the base rate, and then we put in the same type of system that we put with the industrial, with the overage penalties. That's one that we'll be moving, if the council approves, we'll be moving into working on how we're going to limit the amount of water that's used for each industry, for each type of business. And that we can base on historical consumption and what it looks like the new businesses would need. So we'll be able to put the same kind of allocation to that we did on the last two that applied. Also, our proposal is that we'll change in the future, we'll change our utility admin policy so that we're no longer administratively approving anything up to 100,000 gallons. We want to bring that down to 5,000 gallons, and then everything above that will go to the Public Works Committee and to the City Council.
Anything above 5,000?
Anything above 5,000 for commercial.
All commercial.
For all commercial as they're being, as people apply for them, that's what we'll be doing. The current ones, that's one that we're going to be working with them on the historical usage to try to set the allocation where it is conservation positive for them. But it's going to be difficult to walk in and say, we're going to cut you down to 5,000 gallons tomorrow until we've had a chance to do some more research on how they've been using that water in the past. But as all of these come in, there'll be new applications, and anything over 5,000 gallons, our proposal is that it comes before the council for approval.
5,000 gallons, sorry, Mayor.
Go ahead.
5,000 gallons is not a whole lot of usage, especially for a commercial business. I mean, an average household uses 7,000 to 9,000.
Exactly.
And you're saying a commercial business like a restaurant, you're expecting them to have 5,000 gallons of water or less?
What I'm saying is that we won't approve it administratively. It will have to come before the Public Works Committee and the City Council for approval. Whatever they apply for, then we'll take it through the Public Works Committee and then to the council. Up to now, we've been able to approve administratively anything up to 100,000 gallons. I believe that with the condition of our water supply, that we need to bring that back around and make it just like we are with the industry, bring it to the Public Works Committee, to the council for approval of allocation of that resource.
Oscar, do you have a question?
Yeah, I understand what we're doing, John and colleagues, but when we start talking about commercial and industrial, could you tell me what's the distinguishing characteristic between the two?
Up to this point, the main difference between the two is in how they use a resource and then what they provide back to us. Historically, it's been that most of our industrial were ones that had a very strong use or a strong type of septic that we would be dealing with and a fairly low consumption of the potable water. But we also look at the higher the amount of potable water they're using. This is a complete change, Mr. Robinson, from what we have been looking at in the past. The main difference now is just in the type of work that they do. So a restaurant wouldn't necessarily be considered industrial, but a food processing facility wouldn't.
What I'm just curious, and I'm going to compare that one step further. When we say outside, we're raising the rate. Are we talking about dairies?
Well, we don't actually have any dairies on our system. I can't speak for the co-op. What I can say is that the rate structure that we're proposing is for our customers. So it's the co-op is our customer. If you look, we have rate increases built in for the consumption for them as well.
I see co-op is considered industrial.
We're moving them into the industrial category. Yes, sir.
That's why they're 300%.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And if you look on the next page,
Go ahead, John.
I was going to say, if you look on the next page, we also have it for sewer and we also have it for garbage. The increases are across the board. And to be honest with you, the increases are larger for the people outside the city limits and for the commercial. The industrial, the rates that we set for the industrial we have a rate structure there, but it generally is based on the strength of the septic they send us. So the stronger it gets, the more we actually charge them for it. The two industries that we just approved at the last meeting, they're actually going to be paying 85 cents a thousand because we don't anticipate their sewage being very strong at all. And then on the garbage rates, this is the ones that we've had 4 increases of tipping fees. Plus, as everybody knows, everything is more expensive now. Garbage trucks are 3 times what they cost the last time we had a rate increase. Tires the same way, fuel the same way, everything has increased to the point where we're going to have to have these rate increases in order to stay solvent.
Has our tipping fees increased from our neighbor up the road?
Yes, 4 times since I've been here. And we have not had a rate increase. I think the last rate increase went in a month before I got here.
Okay, Mr. Ball?
Yeah, I might have missed it, but how did we come up with the percentage rate increase? Who came up with those numbers?
What I did was I based it on the consumer pricing index. At the time, it was 9.41%, so we looked at what was a bit less than that for the city and a bit more than that for outside.
John, can you give us a well field update, please, along with our tank,
Sure.
our water tanks,
Right now,
All
we
three.
have,
all three of them?
okay, on the water tank situation, we've been struggling to get over 21 feet. We ran Lime Street as hard as we possibly could for 6 weeks. And we were continually dropping. We did have a little bit of rain around the area and the usage dropped and we were able to gain back up to 24 feet. We're back in a decline again. When we had the Public Works Committee meeting, we were actually doing pretty good at the time. And we had a surplus capacity from our well field of an entire 8 gallons. So our well field is running at maximum capacity, including the Sand Hill well field, with an 8-gallon overage over what the city's using, and that's unacceptable. The wells that we just drilled, the re-drill of the existing wells, out of all of those, we're going to gain, if we put them into production today, 160 gallons a minute over what we have right now. That's if we, and we won't be able to, if you remember, I told you we have some shortage issues and shipping issues. It'll be at least another 13 months before the material shows up for those. The wells that we need now, we won't have for another 13 months. So conservation is absolutely the key now. We need to be to the point where we can fill the tanks with some of our wells shut off, not with everything running as hard as it possibly can. That's how you destroy a well.
Yes, sir. If I may. So I was talking to Sarah this morning, trying to get some information about the rates and stuff because I couldn't figure it out.
Right.
But once I figured it out, I just based it on my own little water bill. I use 7,000 gallons per month, which is on the low end of an average user.
Right.
And I paid $23.49 for that. In year 5, I'd be paying $77.85 for that same thing. So, that's gone up, what's almost 300%.
Yes.
On that. So you're going up 300% on water, you're going to go up another 128% on sewer, and then 244% on, I'm sorry, sewer, and the other one was on Harvard. Those across the board, that seems awfully significant across the board. I mean, it just seems what. I know I do agree that we need to raise rates. I'm just kind of in sticker shock right now, looking at this through
Absolutely.
5 years. And quite honestly, we're in a recession, we're in a tough, everything's tougher for everybody.
Right.
It just seems like this is very aggressive. What is the plan of using these funds for?
To maintain what we have. This actually won't make us whole. This will get us
So you
closer.
do pay a premium on sewer already, right? For their discharge, don't we already pay an extra thing for that?
All that is a surcharge for the plant. It's not, we can't use it for operations, maintenance, personnel training, any of that. It's strictly for debt service.
John, when does that pay off?
I believe that we've got another 16 years.
Think we got one.
And it's that fee does sunset, that surcharge does sunset. So at the end of that, it will go away. Now, I agree that this is very aggressive. But it's been more than a decade since we've made any of these increases. And to be quite honest with you, if we don't, we're not going to be able to provide services. That's the situation we're in now,
Mr. Mayor, why?
because all
Why
of
has
the
it been
costs
so-
have gone up.
But why has it been since 2010?
I honestly can't give you an answer to that. I'm not the person that sets that. I make
Because I
recommendations.
think I
And
remember every year we would have a small increase, like it was.
we had a 5%
10%,
increase on the
5%,
consumptive rate.
10% constantly. And so everybody was, instead of one big huge chunk at once.
What we had was a 5% increase on the consumptive rate. And if you remember, the council voted to suspend that when we added the surcharge. That was in 2016.
So this is something I think that we definitely need to look at because an increase like this is, I know it's necessary, but it's like ridiculous. I mean, and I would rather have small, and I think everybody in the community would small increases throughout the years. Every year it's going to increase, and we understand that. We understand that. But then when we go for so long with nothing, and then all of a sudden we just like, oh, wait, here, throw a brick. I don't know. I guess I don't understand why there's nothing been in place up.
The easiest way to answer that is we were never allowed to present it to the council. These rate increases were presented every year since I've been here. Not this strict, but they've been presented every year since I've been here. This is the first year I've been allowed to present them.
Sure. I understand, we have to raise rate, we have to raise our rates because consumption and water is going down and we don't have that ability to restore that water. We got some projects going on, like the water is coming to us one day, right?
One day.
One day. And I just don't see why we didn't have a comparative chart showing the costs increases, like equipment. You say the inflation is running up on equipment and supplies and personnel. Well, wouldn't it be to our advantage to see that?
Well, when we bring these things to you, for instance, the garbage truck, 310% increase over the cost of the last one we bought. When we bring the budget to you showing what the costs are for the equipment, we do include that, but I didn't know that. I didn't think to include one of these in there. You feel free to change these numbers to whatever you'd like to see. What I'm presenting to you is, this is the bare minimum for what we need in order to maintain the services. We're in a deficit in all these departments.
I'd
These
like
are the
to-
departments that provide money to the general fund in a transfer every year.
We have water paying for streets. We have solid waste paying for general fund. So it's going back into the general fund as well. So it's not just paying for water or just paying for solid waste. We are using it for general fund as well.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
what I would rather see is raise our taxes instead of paying out everything out of the water rates. I can't believe we're doing that.
These rates will get us to where we can continue to maintain a level of service. The next projects that we're looking at doing in the well field, they're not going to be $3 million. They're going to be $10 and $20 million projects. That's the reality of it.
But
In order for us to do that, we have to have, they look at what kind of income that we make with this. If you remember when we built the plant, I believe there was only a couple of you still on the council from then. One of the things they looked at before we got our water trust board loan was exactly what our water rates looked like and how we were going to afford to pay for these projects moving into the future.
So this does not include what would be when it's time to start paying for the water from you.
No, sir.
So we can expect more on top of this when that happens.
That would be a question for the people on that board. I don't have any of those numbers.
I'm on that board and I assure you that there is a bill coming.
I know that, but the answer to your question is, I don't know those numbers.
No, I'm saying, is there any of this money that you're raising with these rates going to be held aside to pay for the water authority from the pipeline?
This is strictly to operate and maintain our system at a level that's acceptable.
So Sarah and Susan have been attending some of those meetings that we were talking about through the rural water authority. And we know that that's going to increase. I mean, that's going to be an addition. It's going to be in addition to this,
Yes.
you know. To pay for
John,
it.
does this make us competitive with Clovis? Still,
As far as
price versus their water and our water for,
you can't draw a one-to-one comparison with that because their water is private.
right? But they're
Uh,
still charging the customers.
They charge their customers, but I actually don't know what their rates are.
Okay, thank you.
Did we do any other comparatives to other communities?
We've done rate comparisons in the past, but it's very difficult to do a one-to-one with those because every community is different. The closest community in size to us would be like Grants or maybe Ruidoso, something like that, but every community's needs are different. So what it comes down to is we put the best foot forward. To be honest with you, we wanted to go more on some of these because of the need for it moving into the future. But with the response we got from the finance committee, that's why we broke this down into, you know, the 30% per year. And it looks extremely expensive in year 5. It's very expensive in year 5 for the people that are using the most water. And this is one of the ways, if you remember, Charlie Wilson has been asking us for years to incentivize conservation. This is one way to do that. I also think this is one way to show the state and the OSC, Water Trust Board, everybody that we'll be going to for these funds, that we're serious about taking care of our resource and being able to pay for it into the future.
I have one more question.
Go ahead.
John, you must have been reading my mind because I was going to ask a question about Dr. Wilson. Have he had an opportunity to talk with you about the rate increase, or have he provided any input to you or this?
No, and that's something when we talked with him in the past about it, he said that he would prefer to stay out of that. He would just like for us to come up with a way to incentivize conservation. One suggestion he had was that we would pay people back for low flow toilets and low flow fixtures. I don't know how well that would work with the way New Mexico's set up, but this is
We
definitely.
talked about that on the zero scaping level as well, you know, same thing.
But we're at the point with our well field where we have to make a move now.
Daniel?
Yeah, you said we can change the increase on the percentages, but we have to vote yes or no on what we have in front of us, or can we change it? now?
You can put together whatever you'd like. This is just a proposal.
This is what we have to vote on right here, correct, right now?
This is what the finance committee approved us bringing to you.
The finance committee approved these rates
Okay.
increases as they are.
Mayor, I have another question. And it's not so much a question, it's more, I totally understand that everything and I don't think none of us are blinded by knowing that, oh my gosh, everything's going up, gas, electricity, water, everything.
Exactly.
My concern is that if we do something like this and present it to our citizens, how many of them can afford it? How many would be able to afford it? And I mean, you put it out there and you say, okay, this is what it's going to be. This is what you're going to have to start paying. We already have people that are unable to afford their water now and they're getting their water turned off. And I'm just afraid it's going to turn around and hit us back because it was so quickly so high. That's my concern is our citizens. I like gradual, I guess, better. We know it's coming. We know it's going to be there. There's going to be an increase. But to put something like this before our citizens, so like this with such a big increase, I don't know how many of them can actually afford that. And that's a big concern.
It is for us as well. But I'm going to come back with the response that I've had from other people in the past. One of the reasons, and you brought up a very good point, that this is a lot all at once. The question I get is, why haven't we been doing small amounts all along? And the only answer I can give them is I wasn't allowed to. I would prefer to do it.
So when
that
you
way.
say you weren't allowed to, who did not allow you to?
The city managers that I work for,
At the time said.
the time did
that's
not
none
allow
of
me
the-
to present.
That's none of the council's business or what?
This is something that I present to the city manager, and they're the ones that approve whether I can take it on further or not.
So, thanks for asking that, Mayor. I need to.
You bet. Go ahead, Chad.
Well, I think there's a lot of unanswered questions, and therefore I'm gonna put a motion on the table to table this item. So we can get some of these questions and maybe I'll talk to the people we need to talk to.
Second.
I just like to make one comment before
Go ahead,
we
Veronica.
end. I know that when we were in finance committee, I sit on that committee. We did have a heavier rate structure. It was like, I think the first one was 200%. And Chad did mention that he didn't like, that 200% all for year one was going to be a really, really big hit to our citizens. So that is why they came back with the structure that they did come back with. So they did work on this proposal after it was presented to us with the 200%.
So your motion is to table it to lower the increase, or what are we
No,
thinking
we're
we're
gonna
gonna do?
table the request to purchase, the request to increase the water, sewer and garbage rates. We'll table resolution 22-2307 is my motion.
What do you, I mean, you just want to table it, but how are we gonna address this issue?
Well, then I guess it'll give us more, I mean, we, just like Daniel said, if we vote on this paper right here, right?
Yes,
And I was just saying that there's a lot of questions on this.
Can we
Council.
vote to make changes on this? I mean, I know it's already tabled. Cause we've had a first.
So we have to vote on, we got a second, we have to vote on the table first, but you can. That's done. You have to vote on the table motion.
That's right. But that's my question to the council.
Why are we tabling it is what you're.
Yeah, we're gonna table it.
Okay.
What's our end game?
Well, my question
To
is,
kill it?
if we vote against it, then what does it go back to the drawing board?
what I'll do is I'll request more direction. So what I'll ask for is that we're given the exact numbers that you would like to see in this.
Wouldn't that be the same thing as a table?
Mr. Mayor,
Well, the
if I
table
might,
has to come
Go
back
ahead.
out.
Lawyer,
a table is different than if you simply take no action on it.
Yeah.
If you take no action, tell him to go back and revise it, look at it. That's not taking any action. He can bring it up. If you
Postpone it.
table it, he's gonna have to bring it back on the next meeting.
Postpone it.
Postpone.
Yeah.
Use the word postpone instead of table, please.
so we make a motion to postpone it.
You've got a motion to table on the,
To act on
I
it.
can withdraw my motion.
that's right. Will the second withdraw the second?
I'll withdraw my motion.
I withdraw my second.
Okay,
On the table.
now you can take a new action, whatever the action you want to take.
Motion to postpone resolution 22-2307.
Second.
Till the next meeting, till,
So I'm sorry, I think that we need to make a motion to postpone with direction to bring back
Correct.
numbers, not just to sit on it.
Chad, you wanna,
You want me to withdraw that motion too? Since I had a second?
or just
Just-
clarify it.
Just clarify.
Okay, motion to postpone and give direction to city employees about the numbers. Does everyone agree with that?
Yes,
To revise it.
second.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I postpone it so the city we can work with city employees to get better numbers. I guess
To
that's how,
revise the
to
number.
revise the numbers.
And the second was Diane?
a motion to postpone. Send back to staff to revise the numbers, second by Ms. Parker. Do we need a roll call? Let's go,
Just
okay,
Just
okay, all in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Opposed. The motion passes. Yeah, we postponed it. It's postponed. Gosh,
So from now.
all right, y'all. Item D. Is what purchase a water truck. Eat crap. We ain't got no water to put in that water truck.
That's not far from true.
But we will. John,
This is a request to purchase water truck for the street department using a cooperative purchase agreement up to the amount of $150,000. It's already been looked at. It'll still require funding agency approval, not funding agency, I'm sorry, CPO and the city manager's approval whenever the final numbers come to us.
where do we buy those things from?
This one will be coming from 411 Equipment out of Albuquerque, and it will, if you approve it, we should have it by November. And it will be the FRF funds that will be used to purchase it.
Is it a newer truck?
It's a brand new 23.
You get the chips.
What exactly is this truck used for the streets?
Use it to carry water so that you can, whenever you work on a street, sometimes you have to clean it. If you grind up a street like we were talking about, and you go to reprofile it, in order to do that, you have to have compaction, and that's what the water's used.
And then water trucks you see on top.
Yeah, just spray out the back. Is that-
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions for John?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve this, because anything that says street, I'm in favor of it. So I make a motion that we approve the purchase of the water tank.
Thanks, Oscar.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Robinson, a second by Ms. Cordova. All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All righty. The agreement for the schools has been moved down.
Item I.
Is that E? Yes.
Yes, sir.
So now we're on item F with the update from the Roosevelt County Water Cooperative, Ursula Parker.
I am not Ursula Parker. She's
That's
way
who's on
prettier
our
than I am. My name is
This is
Wesley.
on our agenda.
I'm,
Ursula Parker's on our agenda.
well, can I speak on behalf of the co-op?
I don't know, can he?
Think so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Well, she's prettier. I mean, you can get her up here if you want
I
to.
guess you can. And you are, sir?
I am Wesley Poole. I'm general counsel for Roosevelt County Water Cooperative Incorporated.
Thanks, Mr. Poole.
Thank you, Mayor Jackson and council persons. We have just a brief representation regarding the water co-op, and it's listed as an update. We have been in the process of putting together a new agreement with the city of Portales for the purchase of water from the city. Mr. Dorr and I have had some conversations. He has requested some information we have provided. After listening to the discussion this evening regarding water rates and such, we will have to have some more clear information, I think, before we can finally formulate an agreement. What we would propose is that the board of directors of the water co-op and the council have an informal meeting so that we can come together and discuss these issues that we all face regarding the lack of water that we have going forward and the cost that it's going to be and how we're going to set that out. We're very sensitive to the issues the city is dealing with. And we'd like to have that conversation so that we can eventually come up with some type of agreement for the co-op and the city that we can move forward with. The one we have is pretty old at this point. In fact, it's ancient.
Yeah.
And so that's what Mr. Bill and I have had conversations about. So we're trying to get that done. But I think we, like I said, based on what I've heard this evening regarding Mr. Deshaies' representation and the council's response, there's some information that we need to pass by each other so that we can have an understanding of where we're going in that regard. I don't want to spend a lot of my clients' money and time developing an agreement that the city's going to look at and go, we want to do that. And the city doesn't want to do that either. And so the conversations Mr. Dorn and I've had is perhaps we can have some kind of informal interaction with both the city and the co-op to take a direction that we can all agree that that's the direction we're going to take and how we want to get through that process where we can come up with something that everybody's on the same page.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense to me. I'd rather us all cooperate and get along, and have a couple of sit-down meetings and let you know what, there's some information we've been asking for that just kind of give us an idea of some of those commercial users, industrial users, if you will, on dairies or on farms or on some of those issues that some information that we've been asking for. I don't know how clear that was. We got some numbers on overall usage and but
Well,
I think anytime, Mr. Poole, that we get two groups to sit down and talk to each other face to face. And I know that Ken and Terry had reached out to me before and we talked a little bit about trying to do that. Now, I'll tell you folks, because Kendall's not here too, the reason we weren't able to do that is because of the longevity of this contract, 20 years. Holy crap. A lot of things have changed in 20 years. Has it been 22?
Yes.
Yeah, I was thinking it was in 2020,
Yeah.
when it was signed, or the year 2020, 2002. I think it was a 20-year contract,
Yes.
which the new contract won't be for 20 years.
Well, and that's,
Because we got to stay on top of those.
That's
things
right.
just for-
things are changing very rapidly in the shortage of water that we're all suffering under. We need to formulate something going forward that we can all live with. And
That's right.
that's kind of our focus. And that's why we wanted to get on the agenda.
Yeah. No, I
Sir.
appreciate you being here. And at this point in our deal, I mean, if you guys got four or five members. I don't know how many you guys have on your board. You have five. Then we can, then out of this group, we can pick five of us to be present, for that. We need four.
If you keep it 4 to 4, you can.
We can do four without
But
having
if
a
you
quorum
do
and
five,
doing an empty.
you're
So
quorum.
if you guys would cut one of yours and we had four.
Yeah, we can certainly do that.
Then with our attorneys present too. so.
And we don't have to have any action items, just an informal, where there's not a vote being
Discussion,
taken,
just
right, just a
discussion.
discussion to get down the road with where we need to be. Okay, I yield the floor. Thank you, sir.
Recommendations. Thank you, Mr. Cole.
Mayor, just one observation. The contract runs up in end of November, right?
I think it's the end of the year.
End of the year.
Yeah, so we got it 2 months.
2 months.
Not very many.
Well, I like to be in that. informal discussion.
Okay, who else would like to serve on that? Jim Lucero, I think Jim would be a good one just because of his expertise on the deep water too.
Someone from the community. I'll be on it.
Daniel. Two,
And
three,
I will,
that's
yeah.
three with us
Diane
and Diane
And Jim.
and Jim. That's four.
Mayor, who did you
Jim
name?
Lucero,
Jim?
Diane Parker, Oscar Robinson, and Mr. Bowen. Daniel. That's your name, man.
Yes, sir.
I forgot the youngest one. I've been gone.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I guess we will, Ms. Parker will communicate that with the board of directors for the co-op, and we'll try to schedule something that meets with the city scheduling so we can get something moving.
We
Okay.
can do that. Thank you again.
Thank you. Yeah, you.
Parker. Put the Parkers on it. Okay, thanks for being here, y'all. We'll get her all worked out. Item G. Public hearing for fiscal year 2024-2028 infrastructure capital improvement ICIP. Motion. Running that, Susan?
You want to enter into a
Okay, so
public hearing?
I'm gonna ask for action to enter into a public hearing, please.
So moved.
Okay.
Motion by Mr. Heffa and a second by Mr. Bowen. All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Second part is a presentation of the proposed ICIP 5-year plan. Now you're up.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Thank you.
The ICI process is valuable tools to successfully plan for the growth of our community. The process helps in identifying the top infrastructure capital improvement plan priorities for the city, identifies new and ongoing projects across all city departments, and directs city efforts towards seeking outside funding resources to implement needed projects. The ICIP process involves a series of meetings that are conducted to determine the city's planning process, goals, trends, and a summary and detail of projects planned for the next 5 years. From that information, the city council adopts the annual ICIP and recommends its top fiscal year projects that they wish to earmark for funding consideration during the January legislative session. The process can be concluded with the adoption of this ICIP, or the process is also open to revisions through the adoption of a subsequent ICIP by resolution. So if a project emerges that is very, very important, we can change that, the order that I'm presenting today, or that is adopted tonight in the future, should a funding need arise. Tonight, we're doing the presentation of the draft ICIP with this public hearing. We're hoping that anyone here will give us feedback if there are additional projects that need to be added to the ICIP before it is adopted tonight by resolution. It has been posted since the 5th on the city's website for public comment. I have not received any feedback directly. So I'll try to make the list as quickly as possible. The projects are broken down between 2024 and 2028. When the council committee met, they did rate and rank, especially the top 20 projects in 2024. Those would be the projects most likely put forward by the council for legislative funding or other funding sources. So the top priority project was well field improvements. Then we had water storage system improvements, which are the tanks that we were talking about. A new street sweeper, new emulsion tanks. The emulsion tanks hold the oil and emulsion for us to perform necessary road work. Next would be Lime Street from Avenue O to Chicago. Kilgore Street improvements, which that project is in progress, especially from 18th to 3rd or New Mexico 88. Should be seeing mobilization on that tomorrow. University Avenue improvements, cemetery expansion, and along with that cemetery expansion, we're also talking about building and developing the infrastructure required to operate that as a new cemetery property. Avenue K street and drainage improvements, railroad crossing approach improvements, pool improvements, a transfer station, which is basically where instead of just having a convenience center, we would have the trucks actually collecting at the transfer station and then moving the trash loads up to Clovis via a semi to save costs. 18th Street improvements, Memorial Building improvements, North Industrial Drive from 18th Street to Highway 267, City Park improvements, downtown pedestrian facilities, Fire Department substation, parking and drives, fire protection and water circulation upgrades. Those are the items such as piping and hydrants and valves. City Hall improvements, SCADA system upgrades, a new dump truck to purchase and equip pumps for the water department, new police department vehicles, vehicle replacements for the street department, senior center improvements, commercial from North Avenue I to North Main, the purchase new meal site equipment for the community services center, stormwater retention, to purchase a new Class A pumper fire apparatus, library improvements, Kaywood and Maple Street and drainage, Avenue A from First Street to Second Street, automated meter reading system improvements, wastewater reuse park improvements, impoundment improvements, Rotary Park ball field improvements, drainage improvements, to purchase a new Pat's ADA van, to purchase water vehicles, Q&a-half sewer improvements, Yucca Hill sewer improvements, to upgrade emergency early warning system, which are the sirens that are tested every Wednesday. Purchase and install servers, residential street improvements, the regional mental health care facility, purchase an oil distributor for the street department, to purchase a chip spreader for the street department. The water truck, I think, can probably now come off the list if you would like to make that change. To purchase a steel rail for the street department, to purchase an excavator, a patcher, a skid loader, all of those for the street department. Airport runway 119 edge lighting, airport wind cone PAPI and GPS approach project, and skate park construction. For 2025, a new type 1 ambulance, soccer complex improvements, Lindsay Park ball field improvements, a mail delivery vehicle purchase for the community services center, a new gatehouse for the convenience center, new garbage trucks, scales for the convenience center, purchase a new motor grader, Avenue I improvements, Globe Avenue from 3rd Street to 18th Street improvements, 9th Street drainage improvements, Gum Street improvements, a metal storage building construction for the water department, animal control facility improvements, a police training facility, an airport AWAS design and construction. For 2026, an airport maintenance facility, Buena Vida Park improvements, 17th Street improvements, South Main Street from 2nd Street to 5th Street, Ivy Street from North Avenue O to East Railroad, to purchase another Pat's ADA van, GIS network and hardware upgrades, Geo XH 6000 handheld, which is part of what we use for our mapping program, and runway 826 Pappy Design and Construction. For 2027, to purchase and install charging stations and airport terminal building improvements. For 2028, Fargo, Indio, and Second Street improvements and airport parking apron reconstruction.
Good job, Susan. I'd like to open the floor for a public comment and our discussions. Anybody have any questions or comments for Susan? Along these lines of the CIP?
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
most of the stuff that is here, the only way you can go is that make priority, which ones are the ones we're gonna go to a legislator for. Because we're not gonna get all that money that's all in that,
For 2024, we're not gonna get it?
no. The whole ICIP.
Yeah, that's why they're broken down by years. So
Yeah, I
this-
know it's
yeah.
broken by years,
Yeah.
but I'm saying,
But
we
even
always
for
go
20
with priorities.
Yes,
first.
sir. That's right. And that's something that who's on our current ICIP committee?
So, yeah,
You four? Yeah. Right there. So that's where I think you guys take that list that says 2024 and then put it 1 through.
and we,
15.
yes, we did that. We did move some things around. We had some of the street stuff moved up instead of having them a little bit farther down, but we did rank them 1 through 20. That
Okay.
is our top 20 priorities.
Yeah, Susan mentioned that. So may I ask the question? Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, Susan, you made a good point about taking the purchase of a water truck off the list since we already approved that.
Yes, sir, I would ask, that-
50,000.
I would ask that
Would
change
your
be made.
Committee recommend a replacement in that spot? Something to
Bump up
move
the
in there,
next- Bump up the next
Bump-
item.
bump up the next item. Would it be new type ambulance? Oh, he's shaking his head.
I think that would be a good change.
Okay, so would it go new type ambulance go in that
It-
spot? or
It would
just
go in
straight up?
2024 on that spot.
Okay, all right, thank you. So, Mr. Mayor, I think we need to bump up new type ambulance and move everything up one spot.
We have to do that on a public hearing.
You're doing it.
We have to do
Public
that
hearing.
on a public hearing.
Okay, thank you, Chad.
Any other comments from the committee, the ICIP group that was on there? Anybody else on the floor? In the audience? Susan, good job.
Thank
Now I'll entertain action to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second,
Motion by Mr. Robinson to close the meeting, second by Ms. Parker. All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same signs. Fifth item is a recommendation for the revisions prior to adoption of the ICIP resolution. Is that where we need to take the water truck off?
Yes.
Take the water truck off and then move on to the ambulance?
Mayor, I'd like to make that motion that we remove purchase water truck since we have already approved the purchase of one. And then move into slot all every year, one place up and move a new type ambulance in that spot.
Second,
Motion by Mr. Robinson and a second by Mr. Heflin. Recommendation of the changes to the ICIP. All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right. Okay. Let's go to item H, which is resolution 22-23-08. Resolution adopting the 2024-2028 infrastructure capital improvement plan. ICIP. Any other discussion on that? We'll move into that resolution approval, please.
so moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Bowen, a second by Ms. Parker. Joanne, would you read the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Bowen,
Yes,
Ms. Cordova,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez,
Yes.
Mr. Lucero,
Yes.
Ms. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Heffernan.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Julian. Hey, thanks everybody that serves on that ICRP group. I know that's always a little bit challenging, you know, and just like Mr. Lopez said. Be nice if we get a big old chunks change from the state once in a while. When you get stuff in the face, we get it back with $370,000. Kind of leaves a bitter taste in your mouth.
Question.
That's you.
With
Fund us all.
a lobbyist that ain't here that can't defend himself either. Anyway, we're moving. Item E comes down to this group right here, which is the memorandum of understanding with the municipal schools and the recreation program. Sarah, you got that?
Yes, so I have been working with Superintendent Kane to draft an MOU that will allow the school systems to take over the recreation program for the city so that we are still providing recreation services to the community. And tonight we have the new coordinator here, which is Matt Benavides. And he has another one that's working with him, but she could not make it tonight. We hope that she can be at the next meeting. But they did a Facebook Live today. They're super excited to get this started in September. And so this is the agreement that we drafted. Both our attorneys have looked at it, and this is the final outcome of that agreement. I do stand for any questions.
I have a question. I didn't see in there, and maybe I didn't. Is it, since this is something that's new, and it's kind of, we're testing waters, working with the school, is it possible, and is there something in here stating that we would bring it back in a year and look at it again?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we will definitely be looking. Part of that too is because this year we're gonna use some of the recreation funds to give them a $10,000 payment, a one-time payment to get the program started. And we may have to look at that again next year. So that all was added into the language of the contracts or the MOU.
Okay, what about?
Where is that?
It's,
Did you see it?
who's going to be in charge of the direction that that program,
The school district.
school district?
Yes.
This has already passed their board.
Yes, this passed yesterday. And so if you do approve it, we'll get the signatures we needed after tonight's meeting.
It's strange. It was announced this morning. It was announced at breakfast that they have already approved this.
They approved it, but they knew that.
We haven't approved it.
Yeah, they approved the contract. Now it was your
If
turn to
we
approve
didn't
it.
approve it, would they have to rescind their announcement?
Well, yes, they would.
I have a question on equipment. Am I not seeing it?
There is equipment in there and it is, we're going to provide all the recreation equipment to them, which is baseball helmets, the mats, the little carts that they ride on and do buggies, because it's also going to be an after-school program. Am I correct in saying that? Yes. So they're also doing an after-school program. So they're going to get anything that was recreation related
Good.
for the youth. They will be taking that from where it's stored
Do-
and
Yeah, do you guys have somewhere to store that?
Yes, we have one of the
Benavides.
containers at the high school that we're making room for all.
Okay. Yeah, 'cause I'm thinking of football equipment and
Yes.
stuff like that too.
they have helmets and the reconditioned helmets as well. So I believe there was new helmets and reconditioned helmets that we just got back.
Good. And there's probably some that are obsolete that need to be tossed out.
Yes.
Which ones were.
Sure. No, I'm excited. I think that's a good thing.
As far as refs go, who's paying for the refs?
Everything's going to be run through the school district now.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, been one of volunteer coaches for 35 years in the recreation program. This is something we won't have to fight City Hall not City Hall, schools to use their facilities.
Well,
and
and
things.
and that's, you make a good comment. I mean, they've always been good partners with
Partners,
us
right,
using,
right.
especially when the schools have let us use the gyms for basketball and volleyball and those facilities. And then when, you know, these soccer fields were created out of the old schoolyard over here, then those, you know, made ours obsolete out there on road. So that's helped us immensely as a city and a partnership. So anyway, I agree with you, Oscar. I think that this is the answer to our prayers,
Yeah.
if you will.
And I might.
Without us
I'm not-
having to
I'm
be
not gonna volunteer to
responsible.
coach anymore though, but but it is an answer to prayers that Mr. Warman saw way back.
Right.
And
Yep.
and you and the softball and everything. So
Yep.
kudos to the school
I
and the
think you
city
can
for
only
doing
grow.
this.
I appreciate you.
So I have a question. So you said anything that the city used to run the rec programs would be transferred over to the schools. Was there any other things like, so they're going to be taking care of like mowing? Were there any like four-wheelers or like trucks or any kind of vehicles or anything like that? I don't know.
So in the agreement, it talks about the city will help maintain our parks, and I believe we were maintaining some of theirs, and we'll continue to do that because we still want it to be a partnership in a sense. We just don't want to do the logistics and the administration part. There is a buggy that was purchased with recreation funds, but we are still going to need that for our parks, and we are wanting to work towards a community type recreation program, and so we're going to need that for that, and that is the only vehicle that I believe we have. And if I'm wrong on that, Marilyn will correct me tomorrow.
Okay, so the city's going to continue to do what? A
To
rec,
mow.
oh, I need a rec program, you said?
We eventually would like to work for something more community oriented for all ages, which would include some type of recreation outside of youth.
Oh, okay. Okay, so anything else that the city would, the schools would need, like in addition to whatever that buggy, you said buggy?
Yeah, four-wheeler.
Oh, okay. They would have to purchase on their own then?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, but that was funds used from the rec program to purchase that? Would that?
I
be
believe that
something to go
was-
to them?
I want to say that was used from the cigarette tax fund, which was also used to purchase to help maintain the parks and things of that nature, as well as a walking trail.
Okay, so not just specifically for the
No.
rec program. Okay, very good. Okay, thank you.
Cigarette tax funds were
I think-
deleted from the budget, wasn't it?
No, they're not, we don't get them anymore.
We don't get them anymore, so
You still
so
have carry
that
over.
funds
There's
is not,
carryover
I
from
think under
past.
Governor
Richardson.
Richardson took those funds.
Right,
We still had them in.
We had still had them in the budget.
yes.
All right, any other discussion? MOU regarding Portales schools and,
Mayor,
yes, ma'am.
there is a resolution that I neglected to put on the agenda, but.
Oh, I apologize. You had that. Yeah, you had this one too.
Is it this one?
Does it state there, Oscar, a resolution? number?
Resolution 22-23.
I don't think that's the right number though,
Not
is
the
it?
right one.
22, 23. Oh,
Yeah, that's 23 over.
No, that was for
It's
the
not-
capital outlay.
It's now.
Oh, nine.
It'd be 22-23-09.
Yes.
Nine.
Yes.
Okay.
It would be
on the property at
22.
So you can make that change on this form right here. It's the one between the city and. the schools.
Change 8 to 9. huh?
Yes.
Okay. You need a motion, Mr. Mayor?
For the maintenance of the grass.
We're gonna change it to approval of resolution 22-23-09.
May I make that motion that we approve resolution 22-23-09?
second.
Motion by Mr. Robinson, a second by Ms. Parker. Joanne, would you read the roll?
Yes. Mr. Bowman,
Yes.
Ms. Cordova,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez.
Yes.
Mr. Lucero,
Yes.
Ms. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
and Mr. Happy.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry, we were still discussing the number.
Yes, sir.
Guess it would have been 06,
Oh, see.
because we just moved it down in line.
It said needed to be no 9. Yes, sir.
Great. I just wanted to say congratulations to Mr. Benavides and good luck to you. And
Yes.
thank you. We appreciate it very much.
Good. I think it'll be good for everybody.
Yes. It will
Who's
be
gonna
great.
be working with you? She said.
If I agree, we were doing the enrichment side of
Oh.
the program, I'm finished.
Good, good.
You'll be housed at the schools.
Yes, we're held at the, or, that's the way.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Okay. Item I, which is J. Item J, items from the planning department. John, you got these for Kelly?
Yes, unfortunately, Ms. McCullough can't make it. She had wisdom teeth removed the other day and yeah, we're hoping she comes back tomorrow. It was a little, she had all four of them done at once. So this is a request for direction from the city council to the city attorney to seek a judgment with the courts as far as the dangerous property is concerned. This one came to you in April. It's 921 South Avenue A. at which time you granted Mr. Moser a 90-day extension, 90-day extension, and that is long past. There's been no significant movement of any material over there, no change in anything that we've been able to tell.
Has it passed?
Yes,
90 days has passed.
yes.
I remember we had an issue. He was saying something about the address on his paperwork was incorrect.
Right, and they did correct it. That's why we gave the extension. So it has been long past
It'll
since
be
then.
good if it goes to,
Yes,
okay. He came in here saying he was gonna clean it up. He moved the 2 cars from his front yard and that was it. I think he added a few to our streets, but
he did.
nothing.
And there's been nothing else done.
Were these one at a time?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I need action on this. 921 South Avenue A.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Bowen, a second by Mr. Lucero. The motion is to direct the city attorney to seek judgment. It's dangerous property. We need a roll call. No, not necessarily. All in favor, state by saying aye. All opposed, same sign. All righty. Let's do 921 East Canadian.
This is in the same line. These people have been unresponsive. We posted the property and the timeline has gone past for that. This is the other 2 properties there have been sold and are foreclosed on, I believe. And so we've had to start that process over with the people that foreclosed on those properties.
The other 2 on Canadian.
Yes, there's 3 all told on
I
Canadian.
recall, I thought one was 930.
I believe that's correct. This one is the one that we actually have owners that we've tried to contact that hasn't changed hands.
This one that looks like apartments.
I think it is. It's hard to tell.
Just trying to
Whenever
see-
you look
tell-
at it.
If I could tell by these pictures, right?
It's pretty bad when you get. These are you said the 3 that are all right next to each other on
Right.
Canadian? Why aren't
This
the
is-
other 3 here?
The other 2, the
Okay,
property
that's fine.
changed hands in a foreclosure. So we had to start that process over. This goes with the property owner.
We have to start it over with the person taking.
Yes, you have to actually give written notice to the owners, and once the owners get changed, we've got to start over with them, serve them, give them the 90 days, and if they don't do anything, then we present it to the council.
So it's pretty much the lending institution.
We really have hopes that those will be cleaned up. They're going through an eviction process now, I believe.
Okay, so 921 though, no action, no, they haven't done anything on it.
No.
921 East Canadian.
And that is right, 21, so it's not 31, right? It's 21.
Okay. So we're looking to,
Motion to approve.
motion to approve by Mr. Heflin,
Second.
second by Ms. Cordova. All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Same motion stands for having the attorneys take action to whatever we need to do. Okay, item 3 is a request for approval of a 10. Yes, that's a 10-foot easement in the alleyway
Yes, sir.
off Kansas Drive.
Yes, sir. This is a fence that has been in existence for quite some time. As the property changed hands, they had to have this easement agreement put into place. So with it being larger than 5 feet, it has to come before the council.
Charlie, this comes from planning and zoning.
No, this one didn't because it was already, it's just moving, transferring.
Oh, just transferring. Okay, thank you.
It was already in existence.
One that's already been approved.
Right. This is a black fence. that-
Time the property sold.
Yes, this is nothing.
Oh, yeah.
Be in the lane of Garcia. Questions on that one, on Kansas?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Heflin, and second by Ms. Parker. All in favor, state by saying aye. All opposed, same sign. Alrighty, thank you.
Thank you.
John, thanks for standing in. Item K is update on the cemetery expansion property purchase. Ms. Austin.
Yes, I'm gonna let Steve take this one because he's been the one working on it.
Mr. Lawyer.
Mayor, council, this is, we've been trying to get the cemetery property, 2 tracts of property owned right around it. They'd be on the south and on the west. Mr. Poole is the attorney that's representing, the owners, the Phillips and Clovis. They've been very difficult to deal with simply because they're very elderly, kind of a tight little family. We do have their approval. We've got the property. There are outstanding claims against the property and the fact that the title has not been maintained. So we have a contract. I just spoke with Mr. Poole, told him this was on the agenda. I don't have a signed contract back. His 3 clients have all told him that they agree, but they haven't signed the document. It's a dysfunctional elderly family.
Hey.
So we're.
Hey, lawyer.
So we're proceeding with a lawsuit to quiet the title. It's just that there hasn't been proper transfers from 58 years ago, 47 years ago, and another one. So we're clearing the title. We do have a contract to purchase it for $260,000. That's both tracks. So I just want to let you know that we're proceeding with that litigation. And if you have any questions or I'm here to.
So that's from the property line at the little house south, all the way north to
All the way, yes.
cemetery property line of ours.
They originally had parceled out that 1.5 acre where the house is. They wanted to keep that for 3 years and we said no. And that took a year to work our way through. So we've got him an agreement. Mr. Poole assured me that his clients are agreeing. So I'm going to proceed with filing the quiet title suit tomorrow. In the
Fantastic.
stand.
How long do you think this will be tied up in litigation?
Quiet title suit requires that we have to give notice, run it, publish it in the paper, and I think for 3 months. And I think as soon as the 3 months are up, we'll get a default judgment. The heirs are dead. The only heirs that really would file a complaint are the 3 people that are going to sign.
Mhm.
So we just have to clarify that, and I don't think there'll be any issue.
Spoken by the person.
Be nice.
Thanks.
They finally retire when I.
You will not.
I think that started.
Signed a new contract.
When I first got hired on, I think that was one of the first things you asked me to do.
Let's get some property.
We're glad you had to jump.
After
Well, you really spelled that out.
For the update. Moving down, item L, selection of the 2022 annual conference voting delegate and alternate. Joanne?
This is the annual New Mexico Municipal League Conference. I'm sorry, I didn't put that in there. Mr. Miller is I think should be our representative. He will be there. And I think the only other council person is Jake Lopez, who's going to be attending. So I would.
When is it?
suggest you-
Is it in September?
It's at the end of August.
Yeah,
In Albuquerque again?
yes, it is in Albuquerque.
Carla, I did.
That's where it was last year, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Are you not going?
Yeah, I am. Carla, I sent you an email.
Okay.
Who else is going?
What is the- what is the deadline on
You
that?
can have it. I'll be the alternate.
Get an alternate in? Hard to get our voting delegates in
No, I'm just the alternate to register with you, Carla.
today.
Okay, thank you.
You wanna go?
I don't know yet. I'll see who's the delegate.
Gonna ask Bob.
Cordova. Cordova is gonna be the delegate and Miller. Don't you think?
Mr. Miller, well, whatever.
Mr.
council
Lopez,
wants
you
to
wanna
do.
be the delegate?
I'll be, yeah.
You guys wanna be the delegate? Good, he'll be busy being presidente.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, he should be automatic, should be a slam dunk if you vote for him. You gotta be on the vote for it.
Oh, Mike. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's, unless whoever else wants to run, it's y'all's, it's y'all's.
Go for it.
Pleasure.
I'll go for it.
And Lopez.
Okay.
That'd be great.
So who was number 1?
Jake.
Senior.
Senior.
Being a senior. Hey now,
Is that a voting item?
You could vote on it. Yes, sir.
let's vote.
Okay.
Make a motion to elect Mr. Lopez and Mrs. Cordova.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Heflin, second by Ms. Parker, all in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Does that mean they have to fight it out to see who?
No, he's one, I'm two.
Yes.
She delegated.
He's number one, she's number two. She deferred, experience.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item M, the last item on the agenda is public input for which no action will be taken. Any matter not known about or which could not have reasonably been foreseen prior to the time of the posting of the agenda. The agenda item is for information purposes only. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes per speaker, limited to one presentation per meeting, and no more than 6 speakers on each subject. Counselors will not respond to comments or answer questions to avoid any possible violation of the Open Meetings Act. Questions and requests for information should be directed to the city manager. Okay. Public input. Anybody in the audience want to speak to the council? Come on up. Yes, ma'am. Come on up. Come to the podium, please. And yeah, that's fine, I guess. Yeah.
Oh,
introduce
this one over there.
It's a camera thing.
The-
Introduce yourself, please.
Good evening. My name is Pamela Schuler, and I am a homeowner in the Ravenwood Estates subdivision of Portales. I respectfully thank you for this opportunity to speak. In seeing an article published by Eastern New Mexico News on June 11th that covered events occurring at a June City Council meeting, my neighbors and I became aware that a builder recently asked this council to change a standing ordinance related to building and fence materials in our subdivision. After discussion in our neighborhood, I stand here to represent the concerns of the homeowners in the Ravenwood Estates subdivision for this council possibly considering any change to the standing ordinance in the future. While I have contacted many of you via email, I would in person like to share the thoughts of my neighbors of the Ravenwood Estates subdivision. The primary reason for purchasing in this specific neighborhood for many of us was the item that the requested change in ordinance would alter. The standing ordinance, which requires brick exteriors and cinder block fencing, is extremely important to my neighbors and myself. The uniform building and fence materials are major factors that will allow the neighborhood's current owners to retain our property values. The mentioned article from June 11th in the Eastern New Mexico News states, quote, "The City Planning Commission recommended denial of the home builder's request to the council based on an expected lowering of property values of completed homes built to the higher standards. We respectfully ask you to please consider our plea to not change, revise, or alter the standing ordinance as requested by the builder Adam Broomfield. Since this item was tabled at the time, we ask you to no longer consider this item. The original ordinance was put in place for a reason and should be maintained as stated. What may be marketed as lower standard affordable housing will have major consequences for the homeowners of my neighborhood. Community growth is extremely important, but at what cost should this come? Is it right that the homeowners of the Ravenwood subdivision have to pay the cost for a builder to benefit? Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else in the audience? Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Sydney Schuler. I just want to further my wife's comments by a couple quick things. First of all, we have 10 members as of right now in a burgeoning neighborhood watch text string. We've been taking care of each other quite a lot, making sure that we've watched out for each other's properties. We've all weighed in on this very issue when brought up amongst the string. No one in that 10 different households is in favor of this ordinance change. In fact, we're all very much against it. I would also like to bring up the fact that my wife and I purchased this home with anticipated growth in not only property value, but also community, which that very text string has proven. I'd also like to point out that while we feel for Mr. Broomfield as a business person, those sentiments can only go so far. The city of Portales has ordinances designed to protect its residents against loss due to flooding, for instance, preemptive ordinances to protect the residents' best interest. I believe this is section 12.5-4. We are simply asking that the interests and desires of the residents of the Ravenwood subdivision be respected in the same manner by simply maintaining the ordinance that was created in order to do exactly just that. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Rich Jones and I live in Ravenwood Estates. My wife and I had a house built there. Been almost 10 years now. And the reason we had our house built there was because we picked to have our house built there. And we had it built from the ground up. It was not a pre-made home. We went ahead and designed it and had it built specifically on the lot it sits on right now. Just as the Schulers described, our neighborhood is small. As you all are aware, when Mel Otley declared bankruptcy and gave our neighborhood back to the bank, it caused a huge problem and we had years of uncertainty of what was happening with our neighborhood. We all would like to see our neighborhood grow and we love our neighborhood. But I don't want to see our neighborhood go down from where it is now. The neighborhood initially was designed to be a homeowners association, to have in the hundreds of houses built in that neighborhood, to have a park, to have a pool, and that's not going to come to fruition now. We already know that. But after having gone through everything with Mr. Otley, having him going through his bankruptcy, having most of us lose money on our homes with what happened with him, I don't want to go through that again and have something else happen whenever our home values end up going down because other homes are brought in that don't match what we have. There's not a whole lot of protection from the wind where we're at. It's all designed because we have lots that are all around us. And if you stick wooden fences in there, I can tell you right now, it's going to create havoc for that portion. A lot, not along with the look of way it's going to be for our neighborhood. The 10 lots that were purchased, if you look at how they were set up by Mr. Broomfield, he picked up 2 corner lots, left a section of lots, and then picked up, I believe, 8 lots that are down adjacent to where my house sits. On our street where we sit at on Quailwood. So he purchased those that are the 2 on the corner. So it would be finishing up the corner next to my neighbor and myself. And then 6 houses or 8 houses to the side. And then 1 corner lot over there, which would still leave empty lots in between the portion and all the way around the corner, and also to include the 1 lot that is over on Dillon, or on Dillonwood still. It's going to make it just a mixed setting of everything that's out there. And I'm sorry if the price of everything's going up. I understand that. But we are asking you as the commission to not allow this to happen and not allow the people to go ahead and go in and change this code. If they want to build it, we look forward to them building it and building it to the code that our houses are at. And thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Allison Rennie. I am also in the Ravenwood neighborhood. My husband and I bought our house about 5 years ago. Definitely agree with the things that my neighbors just recently said. My input is my husband and I are a military family. We bought our house 5 years ago. I'm worried about our property values. We're going to have to resell our house eventually. Only time will tell when that is going to be. So that's my biggest concern. Again, we live in a very tight-knit, small, we all know each other. It's a quiet neighborhood. Nothing really happens. My concern is I am more than happy to keep the code the way it is and build on this neighborhood. I think that military families as a whole, this is the kind of neighborhood that we're looking for. I know a lot of people are kind of getting sick of our Clovis area. And I know that military housing on base, the wait list is like ridiculously long. These are the houses that I know the military community is looking for. We have probably 10 renters that are military as well as my husband and I. So that's my input. I'm worried about the property values, but I just encourage you guys to not change the ordinance or the codes.
Anybody else? Anybody else from the public? You have something else? Council?
Mr. Mayor, if I may, I did receive a text message from Junior Aguilar as well. He lives in Ravenwood Estates. This is his text to me that I will just read out loud. because he asked me to state it because he is not able to attend because they are ill right at the moment. So it just says, he's been called about the subdivision that he lives in Ravenwood. He believes, the guy's last name is Broomfield. He was talking about the developer. He says, I have concerns about it. I would love for this subdivision to be completed, but not with cheaper houses, so a contractor can save a buck or two. We have quite a little community here. I feel if the ordinance is changed, it will open the door for other problems such as other types of homes that are being allowed to be placed into their subdivision. And then he goes on to state that he does hate to see property values go down, and he just wants to know that, he just wanted me to know why he couldn't be at the meeting to state it himself. And he just doesn't want other attracting other types of people that he deals with on a daily basis, because he's law enforcement.
So he's opposed to
He's
the ordinance
opposed.
change as well.
Yes, sir.
I received that same text from him.
Nice.
I,
Did you have any other business besides that?
No. I might think of something.
I just want to thank the city. We're finally cleaning up 921 South Avenue. It's been a pain in the butt for a lot of people that live in that neighborhood. I want to know why we haven't had any more on the list. You know, we're running hot for a while, cleaning up our community, but I mean, if you're running out of address, I can give you some. Like, I got a lot. So I'll send them to you, Sarah.
Yes.
Well, that's a good point. You know, I mean, we have had some rain and I know we had some unsightly properties, now be it, you know, whether it's just weeds or whether it's a collection of cars or whatever Sarah and I were talking about. The other old junkyard down on, it's not Lime, is it?
Burr.
Burr.
Yeah, but to the north now, off of Abilene, y'all's the old junkyard.
Recycling.
Anyway. So we need to address that one in the coming weeks too. Anybody else?
Yes, I do.
Go.
I have a couple of things. First of all, if there's no reason and there's no objection to keeping this Ravenwood subdivision on the table, would it be okay that we take it off of the table and then move it back on the agenda for action for our next meeting?
You're
that-
you're welcome to do that if you want. I mean, it dies on the table. I think our policy says that if it's not brought off the table, the actual Robert's Rules of Order say that if it's not taken off the table at the next meeting, it dies. We don't have that strict, but you can take it off the table and vote on it, or you can just not take any action and it dies on the table.
Can we not just say we want to remove it off the table and then have it on the agenda for
Yes,
next
you
meeting?
can do that if you want. It's
Okay.
not necessary, but you can certainly.
That's
do
what
that
I
if
would
you
like
want.
to do,
And you can't
please,
do that right now.
because I would like to move forward
you're
with it.
in-
You can't do that now.
not
I
now.
can't do that now.
No,
Okay, so
take action right now.
would we have to do,
Just
that-
add it to, make it, it has to be put on the next
can
agenda.
you just put it on the agenda for next meeting? Please, yes, so we can move it forward with this. Thank you. Okay. Is that, okay, then I have another one. Could you, talking about, update on Berkeley Apartments?
Mm.
Can anybody give me any kind of anything on Berkeley Apartments? What's going on? They have weeds
working on
literally
it.
almost to the,
They work on it
Mailbox.
whenever they can, and Kathy has made contact with the people working there to see if they can get the weeds cut. If not, then we'll take it through the process like we do everybody else.
okay. So they have been,
Slowly. working
well,
on
as far as the work goes, I understand that, but I'm concerned too about the weeds. The weeds are as high as the mailbox. So have we started that process?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Okay,
Oscar?
thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to just indicate that students will be on the street starting the 12th. School busing will start on the 12th. So watch for the young people going to school and watch the school bus.
They get one day of school Friday,
Yes, sir.
Mhm.
One day of school Friday.
on the weekend, and then back Monday. sometime.
I had one more thing.
Mhm.
I saw your, the city out there in front of the RM James. I don't know if sure what they're doing, but are we getting a crosswalk painted before school starts?
No,
Why is that?
because of procurement and the fact that the way that we had to procure the contractor with the way that particular project was done, we had to go back to Workforce Solutions. They were the ones that made the decision that that would artificially be breaking the project up. So we had to go and find a different contractor than a local one. And there's have a schedule for the 16th.
So you're telling us us as a city, we can't go out there and paint a crosswalk ourselves?
In this case, no,
What,
because that project was done with funds from LGRF. They have to follow the guidelines.
But they'll be
I
there
don't-
on the sixteenth.
I don't understand that, but
So the
I
grant
just
we
think of the
got,
safety of the kids crossing. There's a lot of kids that cross the street right there. We don't have a lot of.
But you said they're gonna get out
Idiots
there
that
and do
drive
it
up
by
on-
the 16th
They have a schedule for the 16th. We tried.
to paint it by the 16th.
Sorry.
So they're a few days behind.
yes.
We'll get it the next week. But we're not painting 18th to where the parking lane, the driving lanes, we talked about doing that.
Yeah, I just.
They're still.
That
that's
school does
still
not-
gonna happen.
Yeah, and that school, James does not start till the 22nd.
Yeah, I just asked if we're getting it painted before school and he said.
Oh, and well,
We were assuming the 12th.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, we were.
So that
We
will be
have
done
littles there.
before James starts in.
The plan is to have those done. They're supposed to be here on the 16th to start that project.
Okay.
And they'll be, and a quick question too, they'll also be painting straight lines down the center to where they can't,
The double lines.
double lines, I'm sorry,
On 18th.
on 18th in front of James.
Yes, it'll be double lines. I'm sorry, there was two conversations.
I'm sorry.
Yes, it'll be double stripes, so the only place that you can cross it will be actually at the intersections.
Okay, very good. Okay. Very, thank you.
Anything else?
That's what the status is on the billboard.
He said we'll see some movement tomorrow. Susan said that.
Yeah,
In her-
tomorrow, Wednesday.
in
We're
her-
supposed to mobilize on the 5th or tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we broke ground on the 8th and it's been a month, so. But we'll see some mobilization tomorrow.
Yes.
That's what we were promising, unless they get hit with COVID again.
That's been the problem.
I would like
Oh, I mean, we can only give our citizens so much BS about that. All right. Mr. Mayor. Anyway, anything else?
Yeah, we're glad you're back, Mayor.
Well, thank you. I'm glad I'm back too, and with all your hopes and prayers, we'll continue to get healthier and ornerier and whatever else. it takes. We're adjourned.